Imagine walking into a wedding where laughter fills the air, couples twirl across the dance floor, and joy is everywhere except in one corner. There sits a woman in a wheelchair, her dress elegant, her hair done perfectly, yet her smile faint, almost forced. People pass by her table politely, offering quick greetings before disappearing into the fun. No one asks her to dance. No one asks her to join. Now here's where the story begins, with a single dad, holding his daughter's hand, walking into that same wedding, about to change both their lives forever. Her name was Elena Hayes, a powerful CEO known across the city for her brilliance in turning a struggling company into an empire. On paper, she had everything: wealth, respect, a name that commanded attention. But in reality, Elena carried loneliness like a shadow. Years ago, a car accident had left her paralyzed from the waist down. The world admired her for her strength, but few saw the quiet ache she carried, the ache of being left out, of being seen as different. The wedding was of a close friend, someone she couldn't say no to, but truthfully, she dreaded going. She already imagined herself sitting at a table while others danced, laughed, and clinked glasses. And her fears proved right. She watched as couples spun to the music, their laughter echoing, while she sat with an untouched drink, clapping politely at the toasts, smiling when anyone glanced her way, but feeling like a fragile glass in a room full of diamonds. At that same wedding walked in Daniel Carter, a single father in his late 30s. Life hadn't been kind to him either. His wife had left when their daughter, Sophie, was only 3, unable to handle the weight of responsibility. Daniel worked 2 jobs, fixing cars during the day and driving deliveries at night. He had scars of exhaustion, but one thing kept him alive: his daughter's bright eyes and gentle spirit. Sophie was 8 now, curious, brave, and sometimes too wise for her age. As Daniel guided Sophie toward their table, she noticed Elena immediately. Children notice things adults ignore. While everyone else saw a woman in a wheelchair, Sophie saw someone sitting alone with sad eyes. Tugging her father's sleeve, she whispered, "Daddy, why is she sitting all by herself?" Daniel glanced over. His heart softened. He knew that feeling of being left out, of being different. Sophie, stubborn and sweet, didn't let it go. "Daddy," she said more firmly this time, "you should go ask her to be your date. She looks like she needs a friend." Daniel chuckled nervously. "Sweetheart, that's not how it works." But Sophie crossed her arms and gave him the look he couldn't refuse. The look that said, "You taught me to always be kind, so why aren't you being kind now?" So Daniel took a breath, straightened his tie, and walked with Sophie over to Elena's table. "Hi," he said, his voice carrying a warmth Elena hadn't felt in years. "I'm Daniel, and this is Sophie. We were wondering, would you like to join us? Or maybe," he hesitated, then smiled, "would you be my date for tonight?" For the first time that evening, Elena felt her heart stumble. No one had ever asked her something like that, not since the accident. She looked into Daniel's eyes, expecting pity, but instead she saw sincerity. Sophie's little hand reached out and touched hers. "You're really pretty," Sophie said honestly. "And you shouldn't be alone." Something inside Elena melted. With a shaky laugh, she said, "Well, I'd be honored." From that moment, the night shifted. Daniel pulled up a chair beside her, and Sophie happily filled the silence with stories about school and her favorite cartoons. Slowly, Elena's laughter returned. She found herself telling Sophie stories about her own childhood, the silly mistakes she made before she ever dreamed of being a CEO. And then the music started again. Daniel stood and extended his hand. "May I?" he asked. Elena looked at her wheelchair, then back at him. "I can't," she began, but Daniel shook his head gently. "You don't have to. We'll dance right here." And so he did, swaying beside her, his hand brushing hers, Sophie spinning between them. For the first time in years, Elena didn't feel like the woman in the wheelchair. She just felt like a woman, alive, wanted, and freed. As the night wore on, Elena discovered something about Daniel. He didn't see her chair first, he saw her strength, her smile, her soul. And Daniel discovered something too. Behind Elena's tough CEO armor was a tender heart that longed for connection as deeply as his own, but it wasn't all easy. After the wedding, Elena worried. Would this single dad, with his busy life, really want to be tied to someone like her? She carried scars, not just physical ones. And Daniel, on his part, wondered if he was good enough for a woman of her stature. He was just a mechanic, after all, scraping by to give his daughter a decent life, yet life has a way of proving doubts wrong. Daniel kept showing up, fixing Elena's car for free when it broke down, sending her funny texts late at night, introducing Sophie to her on weekends. Sophie adored Elena, often calling her my best grown-up friend. And slowly, what began as one brave question at a wedding blossomed into something none of them expected: love, family, and healing. The most powerful moment came months later, at another wedding they attended together. Elena wheeled into the hall, but this time, she didn't sit alone. Daniel stood proudly beside her, Sophie holding her hand. And when the music played, Daniel whispered again, "Will you be my date?" Elena laughed through tears and whispered back, "Always." And here's where the story ends, but the message stays with us. Sometimes love finds us in the loneliest corners, when one act of kindness, one brave question, changes everything.